Well, I'm pleased to be with you today and to be able to share some thoughts about the Research Handbook on Contemporary Intangible Cultural Heritage Law and History that I had the opportunity to review for the journal. And I was really impressed with this volume. I think it's the kind of document that we need, these kinds of collected voices of multiple sectors, and in this case, the legal field and the heritage field. Each chapter in this particular book really does focus on different aspects of the experience from those fields. And of course, it's all framed around the 2003 Convention for Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage. But what's distinctive about this from my perspective is the focus on the contemporary. Much of the dialogue about intangible cultural heritage in the past has been very much rooted in history and in the heritage that is deep in terms of years and also continuity. And not that that isn't relevant and always will be relevant, but the focus here on contemporary is really important. Also, I found it really important that this volume brings into the dialogue discussion about the legal protections of ICH, but also the relationship between human rights, communities, identity, and international trade as well, particularly from the legal perspective. The book's organized in three parts. One speaks more to the framework for our contemporary international or intangible cultural heritage, and as well as it captures, I think, effectively a number of the debates in the area of contemporary intangible cultural heritage. But perhaps more importantly, toward the end, the last section focuses on its uses, something that we haven't seen done as much as it could be, particularly at a time when we're thinking about the urgency of the protection of intangible cultural heritage, and particularly, of course, at a time where there are so many social issues facing the world about community cohesion, social cohesion, community health and well-being, conflict, racism, particularly systemic racism that we're trying to face in so many sectors of the world today, and in a new way, and hopefully a more inclusive way. I think that what's also really notable about the handbook is that, from my view, the selection of the authors was really rich. Each of the authors is very concise in their arguments. They bring broad set of perspectives, again, around the notion of contemporary intangible cultural heritage that helps us reimagine where we're going when it comes to how these apply, again, to human rights, sustainability, also the role of power and shared authority, trade, and identity. I think we all acknowledged for decades the impact of multiculturalism on ICH, and also the notion of rapid globalization. Right now, though, I think we're at a different point in time. And what I also valued in this, and I think others who read it will, is that it brings the legal framework into the dialogue. So often, we're seeing work around intangible cultural heritage in silos, where the legal field is writing about it, the heritage field, the art field, all the areas of expressive culture, sociology, folklore, anthropology. But what I liked here was the way there was this cross-fertilization of the discussion. And I also thought it was this conversation about intangible cultural heritage that talks more and more about this notion of resistance to both legal and cultural authority. I think we're at a time where a lot of the excitement, early years of ICH work has come to another point in its evolution. I think we're at a point where there's a movement that's coming from other places that's really interested in this topic. And the book points these out. The focus I've mentioned on identity and authority, but also on youth culture and the various subcultural forms of participation, and really a countercultural tradition that I think is very much a part of this. And I think more and more this notion of cultural creativity and where it fits in terms of a transnational context is really going to be important, as well as migration and movement of peoples around the world, whether that be as a result of political conflict, or whether it might be climate change, whether it just might be literally refugee status to escape situations of, that make it untenable for life. So we're really at an interesting time to rethink intangible cultural heritage. And I guess I would move toward concluding, I guess, by saying that I think what's most important, though, in this book and why it's so valuable, first off, I think the articles are all uniformly well prepared and written. They really complement each other. And I think they speak to more and more to the values of communities and giving communities more control of their own, of the process of ICH, both policy and practice. And what I mean by that is that I think this moment in time and this volume speaks so clearly to this, that we need to bring the communities more into this, not only in terms of identifying what goes on a list for safeguarding, but also the ongoing strategies for sustaining and creating a resilient policy that embraces the community on a continual basis, not simply at the front end to be nominated and to appear on a list, but also to think more broadly about the interconnections with the various expressive forms of culture that we think about when we think of intangible cultural heritage. Certainly we want, I think what that means is more shared authority in decision-making. It means us stepping back and thinking about who are the decision makers now. And I think I really appreciated hearing that voice, not only from the heritage sector, but also from the legal sector. So, you know, I really think this book is a book that's a really critical book, I think, for the field, and I think it's going to find a wide audience. And in many ways, it's a model for the kinds of scholarship that we need to see in research handbooks, I think, in the future around contemporary intangible cultural heritage when we bring together multiple fields and perspectives. So I highly recommend the book, and I hope you all find it as important as I think it is. Thank you.